Hey, what is going on, guys? It's DK. Back at you with another video here to bring the 5-game NBA main slate on Thursday. Before I get into the video, if you guys are new to the channel, welcome. My name is DK. I make daily videos and live stream for NBA and NFL slates on Draftkings. Thursday night football, I know you're excited, guys, for Jets and Colts. But if you are going to play that slate, make sure to check out my video. And might be doing a live stream for that one as well. If you're unable to watch the YouTube videos, I also upload on Apple Podcasts. Link down below. It's called the DKDFS show. And if you're interested in signing up for premium content, now is the perfect time, beginning of the month. Sorry, I can't talk. A few different packages, NBA, NFL, and esports package that I offer. Again, more info down below. And as always, I want to thank the sponsor, Prize Picks. I was checking out the NBA board. Don't see it up yet, but you can play NFL. So yeah, if this is your first time watching, guys, you're not familiar, Prize Picks is basically player prop site. So you can take over/under on fantasy points or over/under on like single stats. So like for NFL, you can take over/under on passing yards, rushing yards, receiving yards. You can mix and match too. So like you can use a couple from NFL, a couple from NBA. So yeah, I like it. It's a nice change of pace because you're not playing against someone, you're just playing against the house. So if you guys want to try it out, you can sign up, use my code DKDFS, DKDFS, all one word. You'll get a 100% match up to $100. So basically, if you deposit your first time using $100, my code, you'll get a free $100 to play with. All right, and I want to thank you guys again for your continued support. Make sure if you do enjoy to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you know I upload videos and go live. All right, so I guess before we get into players and the prices, we can take a look back at my lineup here from tonight. So tonight I thought it was going to be a really big night. Ended up just being money line for all my GPPs because, well, a couple things. So first, let's just go over my whole lineup. So LaMelo Ball, Svi Mykhailiuk, Batum, Draymond Green, Eubanks, Pat Bev, Luka Doncic, Jonas Valanciunas. Let's start with Jalen Brunson. So I finally get you guys know I can't quit Luka. I finally get the massive first half from Luka. He has like 38 fantasy points or something. I'm like, oh my God, Lobo and Luka, he's smashing. This is going to be a great night. Everyone else is doing good too. I'm like, oh yes, this is going to be a great night. Then Jalen Brunson happened. Then Jalen Brunson turned into Michael Jordan. I guess he's just the best player of all time. Once again, I will bring up though, I make Jalen Brunson a core play. 2 of 10 shooting, 10 fantasy points. Massive bust. Every other game, he's just the best player in the world. One other thing before we go over the rest of my lineup. Happen to see what Jaren Jackson Jr. did tonight? If not, just go ahead and take a look at what Jaren Jackson Jr. did. Okay, back to the rest of my lineup. Yeah, the blowout in Golden State Charlotte didn't help me. I obviously had LaMelo and Draymond there. Only one steal for Draymond, no blocks. A little bit of an outlier there. Normally, he's a guy that can pick up a couple of steals, a couple of blocks. I was fine with the play, just kind of had a floor game there. And if you were watching that game, it was really frustrating. I felt like Draymond would pass it to someone wide open, and they would just do like an extra pass. Like no one wanted to shoot in Golden State. It's like just shoot the ball. Watching that game, having Draymond was so frustrating. So they kept going the extra pass, and then it was just like, yeah, that was frustrating. Svi Mykhailiuk was fine. Again, he was salary relief play. Batum, he played like 9 first half minutes. Now, he still got there in the second half, luckily. But, yeah, still losing a shift hurt for sure for Batum. He could have won for like 40-plus if he would have played his normal shift in the first half. So that was definitely a little bit tilting. Eubanks, talked about him, talked about Thad Young, like them both. I went with Eubanks, he's a little bit cheaper. You could have played both, actually. Thad Young, I think, won for almost 30 fantasy points. Pat Beverly was key. Never thought I'd be thinking Pat Beverly. But yeah, 40 fantasy points, a pretty low ownership, only 17% in this contest. Yeah, I really liked him once we knew he was starting. And then, again, Luka had like 40 fantasy points in the first half, cardio second half because Jalen Brunson's the best player to ever play. And then Jonas Valanciunas randomly got his minutes cut. It was a back-to-back, but yeah, they actually played 3 centers tonight, and they pulled him last few minutes. So that's why I said you can't be results-oriented. You lost minutes. So it is what it is. Again, none of the really spent up centers did well. Cat bust, Embiid bust. Cheaper Jonas Valanciunas that was really popular. It is what it is. But yeah, still again, money line for me in GPPs. I thought it was going to be a really big night going into the late games, but again, Jonas Valanciunas floor game, Draymond floor game, and then LaMelo was just all right. So, and then again, Luka could have had a massive game too, but just Jalen Brunson's the best player to ever play. I will say, Miles Bridges is really good at watching that game. That was the first Hornets game I watched live. He's really good, actually. That team's pretty exciting with LaMelo and Miles Bridges. He's good. But all right, let's go over the winning lineup here this is the Rainmaker. So I think it was a $3,000 entry or a little bit over that. Let's see, where is it? Rules and scoring. Oh, it's up here. $3,180 entry. I think it was 135 people entered it. So again, you can go back and look and check out, who's playing what. But let's just take a look at some ownership here. So Pat Beverly, a lot higher owned in the super high stakes. He was about 30% in this contest. The winning lineup had both Chetty and Dean Wade. That's a little bit interesting because neither did great. 14 for Dean Wade, 18 for Chetty. Again, Jaren Jackson Jr., are you serious, bro? It's just a cruel joke. It's a cruel joke this season. Every single time someone that lets me down, the next game, ceiling night. Jared Allen's just going to play 48 minutes, I guess. He played like 42 minutes. He played 21 first half minutes, Jared Allen. Absolutely insane. He had Steph Curry, who was a bust, and Jonas Valanciunas, who was really, really popular in the high stakes. He did have 2% Miles Bridges, who went nuts. Let's see. Was there any other ownership I wanted to go over? Eubanks was very popular, about 60%. Not a big surprise there. Again, Jalen Brunson, the best player in the world. He's better than Luka. Build the team around Brunson. Draymond about 20%. Again, a lot of the spent-up centers busted. Cat bust, Embiid bust. Jokic ended up getting there. He got 60 fancy points. I played him against Memphis, though. He got him for like 48. Just want to mention that. I think that was really it for ownership and the look back, guys. Hope you guys had a good night. I saw a lot of you guys in the Discord did well, and a lot of you on Twitter as well. So looks like a pretty solid night overall for you guys. Again, it was a min cash for me, money line. I really thought it was going to be a big night going into the late games, but it is what it is. So going over this 5-gamer, it's kind of an ugly slate. I'm not going to lie. It's a pretty ugly 5-game slate, but you have to decide whether or not you can play both. You could be a degenerate like me and play both. This gross 5-game NBA slate or Thursday night football, Jets, Colts. Celtics and Heat is the only game we have out right now. 214 over under, and the Heat are 7.5-point favorites. So we'll start off with Philadelphia. It's a back-to-back, so keep an eye on Joel Embiid's status. He has not played. There hasn't been a back-to-back yet, I don't think, for Philadelphia. This would be the first one. So he did rest that one game a few games ago. So there's a chance Embiid doesn't play here. So that's pretty big to keep an eye on. If Joel Embiid does play, he's a fine spend up, but he's really been kind of disappointing this year. Like he busted too. I think he only had like 42 fancy points or something with everyone out. Again, I saw that on Twitter probably about 5 times his usage or his 2 fantasy points per minute without Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris. He's just not been the same player this year. I think that knee injury really is bothering him. But yeah, if Embiid plays, he's a fine constrained spend up. If Embiid misses, then Andre Drummond revenge game, 6.5K, still about probably $3,000 too cheap. So I'd really like Drummond if Embiid does miss. Seth Curry at 5'9", I think is perfectly fine. Does get a usage bump without Tobias Harris in the lineup. A little reliant on the scoring, but someone's got to hit some shots in this team. Maxey played big minutes tonight. I think he played like 37 minutes. I don't have the previous game up here yet. He's fine option again with Milton healthy. Does always worry me a little bit with Maxey. Korkmaz, Niang, both these guys probably played 25 to 30 minutes. I think both are decent values at their respective prices. Niang's played really well last couple games. 4.7 for Korkmaz, 4.4 for Niang, both in play. And then Milton 3.9 probably gets around 20 minutes. I think he is firmly in play for value as well. They started Thibault last game. If he starts again, he is viable. But he's going to get a lot of his points from the defensive stats. I think he had 3 steals and 2 blocks. He played like 38 minutes. So there's definitely some potential here for value for Philadelphia, especially if Embiid gets ruled out. So Good matchup against Detroit, shorthanded team, possibly really shorthanded if Embiid misses. Yeah, monitor that status. All right, moving on to Detroit. God, I was really hoping they would price these guys up because I don't want to play the Pistons, but just look at the price points. Like Cade Cunningham, 4K, really? You couldn't make him like 6K, so I wouldn't have to think about it? God, he's still a great play again tonight or tomorrow. But yeah, we'll start with Jeremy Grant, 6.8K. Doesn't really stand out. Sadiq Bey had an awful game last game. Absolutely awful. That was definitely his floor. Now he's priced sub 6K. I prefer the price on Sadiq Bey to Jeremy Grant. The bigs and Stewart, no Linux. Stewart playing around 20 minutes. He's only 4.6K. Doesn't really stand out. Olynyk, I think in a competitive game, probably plays around 20 minutes. Let's make him viable for tournaments. Josh Jackson minutes went down with Cade Cunningham coming back, so that obviously makes him pretty risky. And then Cade Cunningham, played 29 minutes, and he shot 0 of 9 from 3, but only 4K. It's going to be hard not to go back to Cade Cunningham, so I think it makes for a really good value, assuming he doesn't shoot 5% from the field. Killian Hayes has also just been awful for this team, absolutely awful. But he's playing, low to mid 20s minutes at sub 4K. He's also in play. Could you play both Pistons guards together? Yeah, I guess. Again, this team is just, it is so gross. It's hard to be a Pistons fan, I'll tell you that, guys. And then Trey Lyles is actually playable, I guess. So play around 15 minutes. He's been pretty productive for this team, knocking down some shots. But it's just like Corey Joseph is getting minutes. God, this Pistons roster is just so gross. All right, let's move on to Utah and Atlanta. So I want to mention they have Rudy Gobert listed as out. He is not, in fact, out. That's Rudy Gay that is out. We'll start with Donovan Mitchell, who actually might be out. He's questionable. Came back in that game, which is a good sign, but might be a little bit sore. So Mitchell at 9.4K going up against Atlanta. Doesn't really stand out to me if he plays. He's viable for tournaments. If he misses, that's where things change, right? Then I like Conley a good amount. Then Clarkson, Ingles become viable. We also have Royce O'Neal, who's questionable too. So that could be more minutes for some of these wings. So Utah, normally a team I kind of avoid, but if Mitchell and Royce O'Neal are both out tomorrow, then I'm probably going to want some Utah exposure. So again, Mike Conley will play around 30 minutes, but if there's no Donovan Mitchell, his usage would go way up. So would like Conley a good amount. Clarkson, minutes would bump up to probably close to 30 minutes. He would be firmly in play. Again, Ingles would probably start and play around 30 minutes. Would like him for value. But Bogdanovich, I never play him because he's so reliant on scoring, but he's only 5K. Whiteside, I mentioned, is a sneaky tournament play that last slate. He smashed 27 fantasy points in only 15 minutes. I don't mind him again. Again, Gobert is going to play, but Whiteside's still viable. 15 to 18 minutes, good point per minute guy. Sure, I'm good with that. And then, again, if Royce O'Neal and Mitchell are out, then Conley, Clarkson, Ingles all become pretty good plays. And then, does Eric Pascal maybe become viable? Possibly at the flat min price. He would be at least in consideration if both O'Neal and Mitchell are out too. All right, moving on to Atlanta. So tough matchup here. Trae Young at almost 10K. Viable for tournaments, but that's about it. Now, Capella's played over 30 minutes the last couple games. That's good to see. 33. I think he played 33 tonight too. So yes, it's a tough matchup, but if we're going to get around or over 30 minutes from Clint Capella, firmly in play. John Counseling played 37 minutes. Again, a tougher matchup, but if he can stay out of foul trouble, he has upside. So the main three guys for Atlanta, I think, are all in play. I'll say all more tournament options for me. Below that, again, it's just, I just avoid this team. The wings are it's too much of a headache with Bogdanovich and Reddish and Hunter and Herter and Gallinari. And Herter's just randomly inactive one game, and he's coming back and playing 25 minutes. It's you can't trust these wings. If you want to, take your shots here and there in large field tournaments, go for it. For my one lineup, I'm just not even considering it. All right, Boston and Miami. Another tough spot here for Boston. Tatum and Brown at their respective prices don't really stand out to me. Horford, once again, is going to be my favorite play. Liked him a good amount tonight. I'm fine with him in this slate. Again, the price is up and it's a tough matchup, but he's probably going to play around 30 minutes, and he's doing a really good job. Sorry about that. And still got a little bit of a cough here. I think Horford is probably my favorite play on the Celtics, but still not a must at 7-4 in a tough matchup, right? And there's not much else here. Robert Williams at 5'8", Schroeder and Smart are seem priced about right. it's tough. It's hard to feel really good about these guys, especially now going up against Miami too. Moving on to the Miami side. A little bit more to like here. I like the matchup a little bit better here for Miami. Jimmy Butler at 9.6K. Again, this is a weird slate. He actually looks like one of the best spend-ups, right? Just look at all the other spend-ups in the slate. It's like Jimmy actually looks kind of good at almost 10K, which is really, really weird to say. So I do kind of like Jimmy Butler. I think Bam Adebayo looks pretty good too. The top two guys from Miami I like in an up-tempo game for them. So the top two guys I think are solid. Lowry at almost 8K. I think I'd rather get to Jimmy and Bam for a little bit more. And then my boy, Tyler Hero. Again, last year, right, everyone was like, oh, Tyler Hero's trash. That was an outlier year, rookie year. Kid's good. And he's playing big minutes, 32, and 35 minutes last 3 games. At 6.7K, he's viable. He's getting look at these shot attempts, 13, 19, 20. He's handling the ball a decent amount too, so he's getting some peripheral stats. I'm good going to Tyler Hero. The value here for Miami, I'll talk about it because it's a short slate. Duncan Robinson is always in play, but again, he has to hit his shots. Dwayne Dedmon is playable, right? He's a high-usage backup center, kind of like Hassan Whiteside that's going to play around 15 minutes. So, same thing I said about Whiteside. He's viable. Markieff Morris and PJ Tucker. It just pains me to talk about these guys, but we have to go over it because it's a small slate. I think we get around 15 to 20 minutes of Markieff Morris. Sure, you can play him. PJ Tucker plays a little bit more, but is one of the worst fantasy producers ever in the history of basketball. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on those two Miami Wings. All right, Houston and Phoenix. So, a couple pieces of news to keep an eye on here for Houston. Actually, pretty big. Could open up some value. Eric Gordon and Daniel Tice. We'll start with Christian Wood, 8.8K. I think he makes for a good option. He would look better if DeAndre Ayton gets ruled out. If there's no DeAndre Ayton, I think Christian Wood should be able to have his way against Frank Kaminsky and JaVale McGee. Like you saw what Jonas Valanciunas did. He was smashing. So even though the price is up on Wood, if there's no Ayton, that would be a pretty big boost for Wood. Kevin Porter Jr., 6.4K. It just feels too cheap. And he played 40 minutes last game. Now, I don't think he plays 40 minutes again, but if we're going to get 35 minutes from Kevin Porter Jr. on a night-to-night basis, even in a tough matchup, I'm fine at that price point. Jalen Green, again, more reliant on the scoring, but he also played big minutes there. Viable tournament option. I think KPJ looks a little bit safer. Jae'Sean Tate, I watched a little bit of that Lakers game. He's a really good defender. Like, I think he's going to go down. Like, he's going to be one of the better defenders, I think, years to come in the NBA. Like, he was playing really good defense on LeBron James. Minutes have been all over the place. I think he got injured this game. And then, like, he's been in foul trouble a lot because he's always guarding, like, the opposing team's best player. But at 5.2K, I think he goes a little bit overlooked. Again, I know production's been all over the place for him, but the upside is there. So, a little bit interested in Jae'Sean Tate. And Gordon and Tice both questionable. If they're both out, well, we'll start with Alfred Sengun, who started last game. Did get some foul trouble. Didn't have his best game, but I would be fine going right back to the well, assuming he does start. A pretty good point per minute guy. KJ Martin at 3.6 played a lot more. He was basically out of the rotation. With Tice out, he played 28 minutes. So 3.6K KJ Martin, that looks pretty solid. If there's no Gordon, again, David Nwaba probably gets around 15 minutes, but I wouldn't be as excited about that. So yeah, Gordon and Tice, pretty big news. Could open up more value there for Houston. All right, on the Phoenix side, so DeAndre Ayton, 6.6K. Again, this is big. This is really, really big. He's questionable. If he can't go, well, I like JaVale McGee and Frank Kaminsky. They're going to split the starting minutes. Both are good point per minute guys. JaVale McGee, a little bit better point per minute. He probably plays less minutes. But Frank Kaminsky, he played almost 30 minutes, went for 35 fantasy points. And he's power forward eligible, which is really nice. Would really like both Phoenix bigs if there's no DeAndre Ayton. If DeAndre Ayton plays, I actually do like him at 6.6K. Going up against Christian Wood, not the best defender, probably plays 30 to 34 minutes. Would like Ayton if he plays. And then the two guards in Booker and Paul. Well, I think if this game is competitive, Chris Paul's a pretty safe play. He's been playing a little bit more recently, 37, 36 minutes. Now, I don't know if he's going to get average 37 minutes a game, but if we're going to get, 32 to 34 minutes from Chris Paul, I think it makes him firmly in play. Again, a guy that obviously has a higher floor than Devin Booker because he had 18 assists last game. Booker, a little bit more boom or bust, has a higher ceiling than Paul, but a little bit of a lower floor. You saw it last game. I think he had like 15 fantasy points going into the fourth quarter. So Both Phoenix guards are in play. Chris Paul, the safer option. Booker, a little more boom or bust. As you guys know with the wings, Bridges and Crowder, they're in play. I think Bridges played 42 minutes last game. Don't think we get 42 again from him, but yeah, you can always use them as secondary options. Cam Johnson let me down last slate, but if we're going to get over 20 minutes from him, he's always in play at basically min price. All right, finally, the Thunder and the Lakers. So this game does have some blowout risk, but as I say with the Thunder, if they want to keep this game competitive, you know why, right? It's SJ and it's Josh Giddey. So Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 8.4K, I do think is firmly in play. The one thing I will say is he's losing some assists, right, with Josh Giddey handling the ball a little bit more. So that does make him a little bit riskier, but in a competitive game, he's going to play around 40 minutes, which I'm fine going to. So like SGA, obviously the blowout risk. I think Giddey a little bit safer for the price point. He actually played 35 minutes last game. That's really good to see. Again, the assist numbers up on Giddey. He's handling the ball a good amount, a guy that can stuff the stat sheet. So I like Josh Giddey at 5.8. The rest of the Thunder, oh, God, this just gives me a headache. It just gives me a headache talking about the rest of these guys. Lou Dort at 4.4K. He practiced. Actually is in play. That does feel a little bit too cheap for a guy that probably plays 35-ish minutes. So he's viable. Baisley viable. Just like the Pistons. It pains me to talk about this team, but he should get around 30 minutes. He's sub 5K. And there's even a couple of guys I'll mention off the bench. Derek Favors, last time they played the Lakers, he played 26 minutes. Now, that doesn't mean he's going to play 26 minutes again, but if we get close to 20 minutes from Favors at close to mid-price, I think he's worth a look in tournaments. And I'm just going to say you cannot trust the big rotation. With Favors, with Robinson Earl, with Muscala, Isaiah Roby might see a couple minutes. You cannot trust it. So there's nothing here with confidence. I'll say with confidence. Mike Muscala, he played big minutes last game, 25 minutes. But I'm not confident, right? Because you just can't trust this rotation. Robinson Earl is going to get some run. Roby might get some run. So it's just, it's just a really, really disgusting rotation. And finally, the LA Lakers. So in a game against the Thunder with some blowout risk, I think all are just tournament plays, right? Westbrook, LeBron, and AD all over 10K. Unless LeBron sits, there's just not much here for me to like. Again, LeBron James is questionable. He's going to be listed as questionable every single game. I fully expect him to play. Now, I will say, at the end of the game, he did get a little bit banged up, but I expect him to play unless we hear otherwise. Now, if LeBron James does get ruled out, then obviously Westbrook and AD look really good. Then that changes the whole slate, right? Then value becomes in play, guys like Monk and Rondo, who probably gets in the rotation. That would really change some things, but I do expect LeBron to play. So if he does, they're all the secondary plays. Melo at 5'3" doesn't really stand out. Bazemore, it's Kent Bazemore. I don't want to play Kent Bazemore. Dwight Howard is questionable. If he does get ruled out, I think DeAndre Jordan's a pretty safe play. Play around 15 minutes, play the backup 5, and is a good point per minute guy, only 3.4K. All right, guys, that is going to do it for the video. As you can tell, again, it's kind of just a gross slate. There's no standout stud on the slate. There's some blowout risk. It's not the most exciting game, but you have to choose between this or Thursday Night Football, or you just play both like me. But as I said, that's going to do it. So if you guys have been enjoying the content, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Thanks again. Have a great night, guys, and I will see you tomorrow in the live stream.